Hello, welcome to Cerulean Arts Gallery. Tonight we're speaking with Kathleen McSherry in conjunction with her Cerulean Arts Collective Exhibition, which is on through May the 5th. Hello, Kathleen.
Hello, Michael.
Thanks for being here tonight.
You're perfectly welcome. Yes.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and the show.
Okay. Well, I'm a graduate from the School of Visual Arts, and my background it was art. I went into advertising and was very successful in advertising for over 30 years. And then I moved from New York City, where I was, to Philadelphia, and then out to Doylestown, where I am now. And as the advertising business changed, so did the job descriptions, and it became more technical than I was comfortable in. And I slowly phased out of that into retirement with a brief stint in the Michener Museum as a marketing director. But I started creating my art. I was always interested, and I was always painting and sketching around, but my real passion was art, and I came to found object art really by accident. I was diagnosed with MS, and I was injecting myself with the drug once a week, and then I had all these used needles. So what did I do? I created a piece which was a nod to Degas' dancers, and made a dancer a ballet tutu around a doll, and that kind of kicked off everything. It became my passion and my curiosity. So I was into found object art right after that.
So
And
where, so
I've been
Kathleen, yeah, Kathleen, I just wanted to ask, like, where you get the objects from.
oh, I get the objects from, if I see it on the street, I might pick it up, but mostly I get my objects from a local um a local a local well I'm a local auction. And I'm at the auction usually every Saturday morning with a cup of coffee, and I've been going there for over 20 years now. So I get various pieces from there. It's a great auction because I can pull out one piece at a time. And for example, the clock cases that you see, those three pieces, I did a whole series of the art of alteration, and I used clock cases, and I got them all at the auction. So just about every piece that you see, I got from the auction. And now I have a studio overflowing with what I call ingredients. And some of my pieces are serious, and some of my pieces have whimsy, and I think that's okay. It depends on my mood at the time that I'm creating it. So and what's on my mind, whether it's the Holocaust or politics or more somber or just light and airy, having fun with the pieces. I believe that there's a place in art for the serious and the whimsical. And my pieces have a combination of that, all the pieces I create. They're one of a kind. They can't be reproduced because I've used up all the ingredients, and they're one of a kind pieces. So this piece, Cougar, was a nod to the phrase cougars of an older woman chasing after a younger man. And I just got hooked on the word cougar. And I had this 1950s vase, and half of the cougar is coming out of her head. And then the other pieces around the clock, a clock case, have the same kind of pattern that the cougar has. So some of them are serious. There's another piece in that called Famine that takes on a whole nother undertone. That's to my right. So there it is with the three empty plates, and there's a somber character dressed in black, and it's called Famine, and that takes on a whole nother feeling and emotion. I look for truthful emotions that come out of me and that respond to other people's emotions. I want people to look at my pieces and continue to look, because it's not always the first blush of what you see is what you get. There's a lot to take in, and I invite my viewership to linger on those pieces, linger on the work, and contemplate it and see what it means to you. So that's my biography. I wasn't really suited for found object art other than my diagnosis, which changed everything. This piece here is called dandelion surgery, and it's made out of surgical instruments that I got in a doctor's bag, an old doctor's bag from the 50s, of course, at the auction. And when I started assembling them in a circle, I looked at it and it reminded me of those puff balls from dandelions that you can blow on and they scatter. That's what it looked like to me. That was the impact it had on me. So that's what I made. And that's kind of maybe more serious with Famine. And then there's Cougar, and the other clock case on the left is the other half of the cougar in the woman's head and two hands coming down. And the title of it is Here, Kitty, Kitty. So it's kind of funny, yet kind of creepy, of Here, Kitty, Kitty. And there's this cougar coming out, and these child hands are reaching for it. Those three pieces have really simplified what I usually put into my clock cases. You can view a lot of them. I'm sure I have some on a Cerulean Arts website. But again, I mix the whimsical with the serious. And that's what life's all about. Some days it's whimsical and some days it's deadly serious. And that's what my life is about. So these are canvases that were silk screened 3 times of musical notes, and I got those at the auction, and it was for a furniture decoration store, and I got those very cheaply. And then I thought, well, it didn't look finished, just the notes. So instead of just having the notes, I added, I smashed some records and adhered them to the canvas. And I called that record-breaking music. And that kind of gets into the whole feeling of what music is about and what is inspiring to music. And they want to break out, they want to make music, and that's part of it in a lighthearted way. And I have a full record as well on that piece. So it's interesting to look at. I saw a person at the opening looking at all the record labels. She wanted to know what pieces of music I had put on. And some of them she knew, some of them she didn't. But it again, it invites lingering on the work. The second one, the one that's in the middle, is called Music in Black and White. And that's a more graphic approach than I usually make. It's a keyboard between two pieces of a violin, and it just settled really nicely on a wood board that I had spray painted, and it just worked, and it was finished, and I just liked the way it looked. You know, they're some of my pieces are just, I like the way they look, and I know when they're finished, and that's what this piece did for me. I do like the graphicness of it, and I think it works very well. The other canvas, where you see the music, once again, it's three different running of silkscreen of the notes. And this time I used broken pieces of a violin. And I called that, oh, gee, I forgot the name of it.
It's called explosive music.
Explosive music, because it looks like um, the violin is kind of has burst and exploded all over the notes, and that's again a musical kind of metaphor, and that I believe is how a lot of musicians see the work. It's putting it in a 3D format that people can feel and understand. So that worked out very well for me.
So all the material in your studio, do you have it organized by like piles of the same thing, or how do you find what you need?
Well, that's a good question. I would like to say that I am organized in that, but I'm not. I just had a flood in my studio, and I had to take every element out of the studio to repair the floors, and now it's all but about nine boxes, and I seem to know where everything is. I look. They're in little plastic bins. A lot of the pieces, there are boxes that are just meters. There are boxes that are clock parts. There are boxes that are random pieces. And I spend my time looking through all of the pieces that are around in the studio and creating a piece. The piece you're looking at now, Sweetened with Honey, is I came across some spindles, little tiny spindles that were for architectural pieces. I was able to buy a whole box of them, and I just put them, and I put them on a block of wood that I got. It was probably a cheese tray or something like that. And I got that at the auction. And I cleaned them up, gave them a coating of oil on them. And then I very sparingly used other parts, like the little gold pieces are from articles that you would find on leather bags and stuff as closure points. That was a whole bin. I usually look for pieces that have lots of elements to it. Like it's not just you buy one spindle, it's a whole box of them. And I like multiples, and I work, I like the fact that I work to get closely with those multiples, and I turn them into a single piece of them. And I call that Sweetened with Honey because in the middle of that piece is a honey dripper. So I just saw that in my vast collection of, some might call it junk, I call it ingredients. And then that seemed to work right in the middle of it, just sweetened with honey. So yeah, I like that piece very much.
So Kathleen, would you say that the ideas for your pieces come from
The
rooting
pieces,
around in the material themselves, or if you have an idea, you have to find pieces to
yeah.
do?
Usually it comes from the pieces themselves. all my ideas come out of looking at the pieces, like this one here with the 1/3 of a head. I had that piece in my studio for maybe a year, and I didn't know what to do with it. And then I found that ceramic paper bag, and I thought I can use something. So I brought it home, and it was sitting in my studio for a while. And then I thought the head, the bag, the head, the bag. And I thought, well, no, it needs something a little. And I had a box of birds, and I just turned it into birds on a wire, and that piece was finished. And so I stare at the pieces for a long time. I had done one piece called what was it called? The measure of time or something like that, and it was a cast of a life cast on it, and there were meters that I attached to all of this. And I got the life cast of somebody, and I had that in my studio 2 years. And then I bought and I found a box of meters like 2 years later. And then it took me about 6 months to combine them. And then there was a show asking, I forgot what they were asking for. They gave it a title. I don't recall at the time, but I put that together, and they loved it. They absolutely loved it. And I won for that, I won a press release that they sent me. So that's good. And then I had a show there. It was on 21st Street. There was a gallery. Agora Gallery was the name of it in New York City. This piece is, once again, it was a grouping of African heads. And I didn't know quite what to do with them. They were all interesting. And then I usually lay down the wood, put them on, and then look at it, walk away, look at it, walk away. And then I realized I looked at a box, and they were all pendulums that I had from the various clock cases I had. And I put them together, and they seemed to work. They seemed to come at me and say something to me. And then I called this piece tick, tick, tick. I could hear the ticking of them. And the lips moving looked like they were saying tick, 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 and moving their lips. So that piece came a little faster than some of the others. And it depends what I bring home and what box I put next to what box. But it's always a discovery.
Well, you know what I've noticed is interesting about your show is that like the materials, the old wood and stuff has a smell, like a distinct smell,
Yeah,
which is a very different feeling in a show. It's not just visual.
yeah, yeah,
You have that aspect too. So then you have sometimes a sense of nostalgia for these old discarded
yeah.
things.
Well, they're old and discarded, and they've lost their usefulness. I mean, you look at the heads that were for something, and now they were all sitting in a box, waiting to be picked over and put into an auction. And I gather them, and I give them life. That I put eyes in that particular one, and make them into something they haven't been. I renew and refresh, and I restore. What is it I say on my business card? I restore, I recycle, and I redefine the pieces. And that's what I look to do in all of them, because they're just sitting there lifeless, and and rather than, we live in a throwaway society, and rather than throw these things away because they don't mean anything, make them into something that means something, so that when somebody looks at it, um, it means something to them. It does something to them. They feel it. This piece was a nod to Robert Rauschenberg's sculpture, where he put a tire around a stuffed mountain goat, and his title was only was called Number 9 or something like that. But when I saw the tire separate from the deer, and on a kid's pull toy. And I thought this is a nod to him. And that piece is called Rauschenberg's Reindeer. And it puts a smile on a lot of people's face. I think people like to look at it, irrelevant of whether they know Rauschenberg or not. But one of the people I was talking to at the opening, they did know Rauschenberg, and it made them laugh, and they spent time looking at it. And that's what I hope for. You'll come, you'll look at my work, and you'll spend time there. This piece is more of an abstract piece using wooden vices and doorknobs and a couple of bead holders and I called this, I was going to call, because it's vice, I was going to call it vice versa, but I changed the name somehow. It was vice.
Now it's verse and vice.
Verse and vice, and I turned it upside down. Sometimes you have to look at what's obvious in front of you and then flop the words, and then it means something to you, or it draws you in because of the title.
Well, and it makes you want to touch it, like the
Yeah.
hands, you know.
Yeah.
Feel the wood. It's worn from use.
Yeah, there were a lot of vices. Once again, it was a box of multiples of something, so I had something to work with. And the doorknobs were the same kind of wood. It makes you want to touch the roundness of the wooden doorknob handles. So that was a nice piece to put together. And once again, that is because there's a lot of pieces. Look at it. There's no. Some have more of a meaning, like record breaking or record-breaking music or explosive music or something like that, and it's about the piece. But in other cases, there are just graphic depictions of the 3D pieces I've already had.
Yeah, they're just more self-contained as objects.
Yes, more self-contained as objects, that's right. And these two pieces, the one on the left is called Cityscape. And I took shapes in wood, and then I spray painted over them. And I was trying to make them look like Gotham in New York City. And I think I successfully did. It really feels like it's a Metropolis. So, and all these pieces combined give you a feeling of a metropolis.
Well, it also has a feel of, like German expressionist film or something.
That's true.
Angles and shadows.
Yeah, I'm always looking at art books. What's the latest in art news and stuff like that, and just looking at, and those constantly looking at art gives you impressions and stores those memories. I like to think in something that maybe I saw yesterday or something that I saw years ago, and you find the right pieces and they bring back that memory, and then you can work with that memory. This piece was half of a bookcase. It was two ducks, and then I found this target on the back at the back of the duck, and then around it I also happened to find bullet casings that, once again, it was at the auction, and then it just all magically came together and fit. So and that you don't really know right away that you're looking at bullet casings. You're looking at little decorations. So that's a plus. If you spend time and are not in a rush to look at my work, you'll see more than you bargained for.
Yeah, it's a surprise, and then all of a sudden it has a different connotation.
Yeah, yeah. And well, the drawing, the wooden duck is kind of sweet, and the target kind of reminds you of uh, what is it? Amusement parks or something like that. But then the bullet casings all around it, they're real.
Yeah.
So it gives you
Series.
a little snap back. Whoa, I
Right.
I thought one way about it, but now I'm given another way to think about it. So that's my goal, to get the mind working and thinking.
Well, it's a fantastic show, Kathleen.
Well, thank you very much. They were fun to do, and I applaud you on the way you set it up. It's perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was easy to talk about.
Y- Well, and the show is up through May 5th, so we hope
Yeah,
you come and see it. Everything's also available on our website, Cerulean
that's
Arts.
right. I have been sending people to the website who are out of town, not from Philadelphia. So that works wonderful. So come and see it on the website, or come and see it in person. And
Yes,
I will be there another weekend. And if you have more questions, come by on Sunday and I will be there.
sounds good. Thanks
Okay.
for joining me tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Michael.
Take care.
Bye bye.